All right, welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Next Generation podcast, where I show you how to attract a high value mate by interviewing some pretty awesome high value men and women. Today is more of a public forum, general forum, inviting people of all income ranges, value ranges to come have a conversation about a lot of these different topics. So to get started, we're just going to go around the table, give your name, your dating status, and your occupation. And you can throw in age too if you want. Who wants to go
Starting.
first?
Oh, I'll start. My name is Glenn Lawrence. Name, age, I am 39. Occupation, I'm a producer. I've done films. I've been an actor, done films, movie, and now I run a podcast studio out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I produce some of the most known red pill content creators, such as Rollo Tomasi, Michael Sartain, just to name a few. Access Vegas. Yeah, my dating status. Oh, I've been married. I'm out.
He's out.
Out.
Sick.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Mehdi Aidour. I'm a social success coach. I help guys with dating. I help guys get laid, essentially. I've been doing that for a couple of years now, and I'm technically single, technically, and I'm 26 years old.
Okay, and I'll go. If you're done, I'll go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my name's Nathan. I'm 25 years old, and currently I'm holding two different jobs. One's full-time, one's part-time, like 15 hours a week. The first job, the full-time, is a case manager. The second one is a registered behavioral therapist, and they're both social work-based jobs. And my plan is to go back to school next year to pursue my master's degree for a therapist, and long-term to become a clinical psychologist. And then my dating status, I've been in a relationship for 6 years, going on 7 this March.
Nice. My name's Dan. I'm an agile coach. I also personally coach on the side a little bit. I kind of pick and choose people that have been referred to me by other people I've helped. Agility is just a way of doing business that essentially eliminates micromanagers. So yeah, I have a lady friend that's awesome. Yep, that's about it.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for sharing and for being here, by the way. So the first, I feel like episode 1, we covered what is a high value man, and Michael Sartain did a great job of explaining that for the purpose of this podcast, high value is high value in terms of like your sexual market value, not so much are you a good person. So it's just literally what is the opposite sex attracted to. So a lot of these topics, questions are going to be in the context of someone being high value sexually speaking, not necessarily of, fine moral character. So the first question is, does setting boundaries or having standards mean you're controlling, manipulative, or insecure? A lot of women in a lot of different content, they agree that when a man sets boundaries, I don't want you to have Instagram while we're dating. I don't want you to wear certain clothing. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. Jonah Hill is a good example of, a popular one that just half of the people are on his side, half of the people are totally against. So we'll start with Glenn first and hear your reply to that. Does setting boundaries or having standards mean you're controlling, manipulative, or insecure?
Now, my answer this is gonna be interesting. Frame is everything. Iron rule of Tomasi, number 1. Frame is everything. Always be in control of the frame. Never give the impression that you're in control of the frame, right? Frame is everything. Always be aware of whose frame you're operating in. So if I say, look, the woman that I'm like, okay, I'm married. So the woman I'm married, she doesn't post hoe stuff on Instagram, right? She doesn't wear provocative clothing out in public. Now, that's because that's my standard. But here's the thing. I don't have to tell her to do that. Okay, because if she does, then what she's telegraphing to me is she's no longer wanting to be my woman. So guys having like this, yes, you put boundaries, you put, expectations like, hey, this is what I'm looking for in a mate. This is what I want in the LTR. This is wifey material to me. If you don't meet those standards, that's fine. You could just spin around like a plate, but you will never elevate. See the difference? Now the problem is when guys are like, you know what? I said I don't want you wearing thong underwear underneath that dress. Like, like when you start taking it to the extreme, then you become domineering. Look, you can only control your frame and who you allow in and out of your frame. I can't dictate and tell you what my wife is going to do, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do if she steps out of my frame. So there's a difference. Like Jonah Hill's problem was he tried to set and establish boundaries too late. Okay. Because obviously he didn't have an issue with it before. Now he has an issue with it in the middle of the relationship. And it's a little too late to establish these things like, oh, hey, by the way, I want this to be changed. You do it, it came off the wrong way. Also, the other thing is like if you have to tell your girl not to wear certain things or no, you can't go to ladies' night out. Like, why do you like if you have to tell her that, you have to ask yourself, why does she even want to wear that in the first place? Why does she want to go on these trips in the first place? Why is she already questioning? So the issue is not so much the fact that you feel the need to tell her. The issue is why does she want to? The medium is the message here. Her actions, her even wanting to do something out of pocket is already telegraphing to you where she sees your relationship and values you and the relationship she has with you. So do you see where it's like, yes, you want to establish your boundaries, but at the same time, they shouldn't have to be established to the degree that they need to if the girl has genuine desire for you. If she has genuine desire for you, she wants to please you. So she's not going to do anything that's going to be displeasing to you.
Makes total sense. So the guys who have these girls that want to, post provocative pictures, wear provocative clothing, not respect the boundaries that they have. Is it more of do you think like them lacking value that the woman is not going to properly respect the person?
She doesn't value the relationship enough to not do that. Now, here's the difference. Michael Sartain's wife or girlfriend, I'm sorry, is a bikini competitor. He met her at a competition. He knew in advance that she does this as a competition. This is how she generates revenue with sponsorships and winning these competitions. So for him to be like, hey, I don't want you to wear bikinis and post them anymore, it would be wrong, right? He's like, wait a minute, So that's different. Mike's in a different situation because he already knew that going in. Now, if your girl you're with, she doesn't do it for revenue, right? And she's still posting very provocative pictures or in the gym workout pictures, but she's not sponsored, then what she's doing is she's telegraphing sexual availability. And what that means is she wants it closed on your end and open on her end, where that she could still receive advancements or attraction or gain some attention from the opposite sex selling sex, but you cannot. It's almost like if you go on a date and your girl, the waitress flirts with you and you flirt back with the waitress, just being polite, right? How dare you? That's microaggression cheating, right? But your girl's showing, thong bikini pictures without you in them on her social media. See, closed on your end, open on her end. And if a woman operates in that fashion, then she doesn't respect or value the relationship that you have enough. It has nothing to do with value you. It's just the relationship in general is not valuable enough to her for her not to behave that way.
Makes sense. And before I pass it over, one other thing I want to ask. So my first impression of the whole Jonah Hill thing when I researched it a little bit is it felt like he was maybe seeing her casually, and then when he kind of felt like, okay, I want something more serious and maybe you fit that criteria, I felt like then he communicated to her like what those standards, what those boundaries look like to have that, next level of relationship. So do you think that, let's say that's what happened, do you think that is something that's okay, that's like wise, or should you just set everything that you want with a potential serious partner right from the beginning?
No, I think like, it's not like the first date you're like, hey, okay, so here is my
Yeah.
list of expectations of what I want. Like, no, you don't do it like that. You know, you also lead by example. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're like, if she goes, hey, I want to go on a girls' night out, I'll be like, why? You know, you don't have to like. There's a difference between being can control the relationship, but not controlling the relationship. You're in control of you. You don't dictate what she does. If she wants to do what she did, okay, you want to have friends, male friends, and you want to, take sexy photos. Okay, that's cool. Do it. But just know that you and I can't be together because that's not what I'm looking for. And the way that he worded it, he wasn't like bashing her. He was like, look, if you feel the desire that you need this in your life, then please do it, but you just can't be with me, And I think the way that he said it was great, but there was a whole lot of like emotional language in there, and he's trying to like speak like relationship counselor, lingo, and it just I got what he was trying to get at. It was a really nice way to end it. But it backfired on him because one, he didn't establish that from the beginning. But again, that doesn't mean like the first date. Let's say your first 2-3 dates, whatever, maybe seeing this chick for a month as a plate, and you're like, look, this in that time, during that time in interaction, you're giving a little bit of nuggets, a little bit of information about what you expect in a serious relationship. Not like, hey, okay, so if you want to get to the next level here, you got to get rid of your friends, and then no more sexy pictures. Yeah, definitely that. And then, oh, by the way, guy friend surfers, no, we can't do that. And then your batshit crazy friend, no, it's not cool. We're not doing that anymore. If he did it that way, then it came off really wrong. It came off like a little too a matter of fact, like either or. Like it came off as an ultimatum.
Got it.
I think you're right when you said that he established the frame like too late in the relationship. So initially, he probably got into that and he knew what kind of girl she was, but it was more like the lovey-dovey phase of the relationship. So he was like, "Oh, whatever, we'll establish boundaries later." But then when it got more serious, then he decided he was like, "Okay, let's establish these boundaries now. No more surfer guys, no more like male friends." But at that point, it's like too late, like you've already established that frame where you're the guy where she could do whatever she wants.
Yeah,
For
you
you
already said it was acceptable.
Yeah,
You already made it acceptable in the beginning.
exactly.
You didn't, put it down in the beginning. Like you're like, okay, well now I got you. Now you can't do this anymore. And it's like,
Right.
that's then that's where you get the vibe of manipulation. Now it feels like manipulation because you kind of got me on the hook, and I'm digging this thing. But wait a minute, now you're asking me to give up all this stuff. Why didn't you tell me this from the jump? Then I would have,
Yeah.
made different decisions.
It's almost like she's like, "You're not that guy. Like you weren't that guy in the beginning of the relationship, so you're not that guy now."
And the fact that you could tell that Jonah Hill wasn't that guy, period, was the fact that he had to tell her.
Right.
The fact that he had to tell her and her have to be told by him. Women don't want to know that they're playing the game, but they want to play the game. And if you have to tell them, like, hey, by the way, this is the game, don't do this, then they're not into you.
I imagine he was like the usual Hollywood actor, like probably very blue pilled. And like one day he was like sitting and he was watching like Fresh and Fit or something. And then he was like, "Okay, time to establish these boundaries." And it just didn't work.
Kevin Samuel said this. I'm going to try this out.
I think one of like the classic examples of that is you know, the married guy of like 10 years or whatever wanting to have a threesome. And the wife's like, I'll kill you. I'll fucking cut you. Never say that again.
Well, see, here's a problem with that too. It's like there's an integral issue there, right? The married guy had been married. He said these vows. He said to have and to hold, to forsake all others, right? But now you're 10 years later and you're like, you know what? I want to like get a pass on this whole forsaking all others thing. And I'm changing it because I think I'm a high value guy. Well, the fact is, if you have to tell people you're a high value guy, you know, you're probably not a high value guy. You know, it's almost like, hey, I want to change this up. You know, it's like, wait a minute, but that's not what you agreed to. Now, if you decide that you want to change the status of your relationship or whatever, that's fine, but that's a mutual conversation that you have and be like, look, I know that we said we weren't going to, you know, be seeing anybody. We're going to be monogamous, but man, I have this hankering for doing this, and give them the way out. Like, look, if you're not into it, then that's fine. We can end this relationship. And I'm very sorry for misleading you, but if you really feel that you know, I need this other thing in my life, I'm going to do this, you know, but take the ownership of changing the direction of the relationship. Don't say like, well, I'm a high value guy and you should go out there with me and get a girl. It's like we could bring her back so I could have some fun with her too. You should. Like that's just the wrong route to go.
That reminds me of the notion of swingers, because some marriages they end up swinging when they're in the 30s because they want to preserve the marriage, but they also want some kind of sexual variety. So then that usually leads to them going to some kind of swinger club or having friends that are in that realm, just so they can have some kind of, you know, nuance, or not nuance, a novelty seeking. And then that sometimes works, but sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. Oh, you're
You're
muted,
muted,
bud.
Glenn.
I know a lot of people in the lifestyle. I don't know how many relationships. I could count on one relationship that I know are in that lifestyle that are like 30 plus years in their marriage. Most people that I know, when they get into it, it's short lived, and there tends to be more problems than positive in the end. You know, now it's like a novelty thing, right? It's like, but see, it's like people use it as an escape, as a drug, right? Well, just like any drug or any you know, escape, in moderations, it may be okay, right? It may not do too much damage, right? If you drink one glass, it's not going to affect your liver too much, but guess what? It still affects the liver in a negative way, right? So it still is bad. It's still going to be bad for you, but it may not be as bad if you drink every single day. Well, what a lot of times these guys do is they get into these swinger things, and it's like, okay, we're just going to give it a try, right? And the next thing you know, it's like they're on the hunt. All they're doing is trying to find other people to swing with, and their whole relationship gets wrapped around finding someone else to bang,
Yeah.
right? And then now, where's your relationship? What's your relationship based off of? You lost it because it became the addiction. The addiction became the swinging, and it's just like alcohol, just like, you know, any type of drug. When people get
Yeah.
hooked on it as an escape because they want to spice something up, or they're bored and they need some form of stimulant to get them going again, they're chasing that dopamine high from that stimulant. And it's like, okay, now we're only going to do it once or twice. Now we're hitting it every single weekend. And now we're traveling far distances to go find other people to bang. And it's just like, when does it end, right? At some point there's going to be a breaking point in that relationship where either she's going to be done with it, or he's going to be like, damn, she's getting blown out by all these black guys and I need to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
one of the two.
it's a hedonistic kind of paradox. Like,
Yeah.
you need that high to get higher. And that could happen, like you said, from alcohol. So some people just abstain in general, so they don't have to, because abstinence is somewhat easier in alcohol terms than moderating alcohol. Because you start to get that feeling like you can't moderate now. You have to want more. Like one shot didn't do it. Now you need two more, three more. So that's kind of like opening up Pandora's box when people swing or people cheat. They have to be very, very mindful if that's just something that they need to leave altogether, or if it's something that they could even control, because oftentimes it gets hard to. is what I would assume.
Yeah, I
Well,
knew a guy that like couldn't even get an erection with his wife. And she was a good-looking woman, but for him to be turned on, it was like the whole idea of going out there and going to these swinger clubs and getting other women. And it was like, not trying to say like I feel like, oh, how does that make her feel? But like in a way, like, yo, what if your girl came to you and be like, you know what, you don't get me wet, like
Yeah.
can we go find another dick to get me wet? Like, man, that would just mentally destroy you, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like it doesn't seem that it's something, the polyamorous relationships and the swinging lifestyle just doesn't seem sustainable in the long run. And I think it actually could do more damage to people in relationships than it actually preserves.
Well, I think it depends on the guy's ability to hold his frame. So you're right. Most of the time, when you go into that, the guy holds so much less value when they're out there, advertising themselves. It's some dude wants to sleep with your wife. It's not some wife wants to sleep with you, right? And so if you can't go into that situation holding all the value cards, then it's gonna fall apart, just like everything else in your life is falling apart, right? Your ability to hold frame is what's important. And you could probably do that most anywhere. The better you get at it, the more you can hold it tightly at a place like that where, it's people are going to be coming at you, attempting to lower your frame without you even realizing, just by coming in like bigger than you, more present than you. So yeah, I think it's certainly possible. And those people that, that they have a relationship where the guy continues to feel valued. But as soon as the guy doesn't feel valued anymore, and he's just like a tag along, a third wheel, then of course he's going to be like, yeah, I'm checking out of this. This is stupid, right? And which I think is the experience of most guys as they get into that. And there's like 92 dudes waiting, like hoping that they can get a turn with your girl, right? Like there's not 92 girls waiting to get a turn with the husband,
And with
right?
social
Nope.
media, it doesn't matter whether she's good looking or not. All of them have that.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, with social media, like, I mean, and social media plays such a huge role in the hope. Women think they translate likes and hearts into someone liking them or their value. Like, oh, this picture got 10,000 likes in an hour. That means I could get with LeBron James. No, because the guys that liked you were all guys that you wouldn't sleep with to begin with. So, like it really kind of distorts their understanding of value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, attention equals value. Yeah.
Yes, attention is gold in girl world.
Yes.
Or maybe even if a girl could like get with one of those guys who's more high value, like LeBron, let's say she sleeps with him out of luck or whatever, those girls start to think that they can keep a guy like that guy would ever be in a relationship with them, which is not even close to being true. So it's
I mean, he chooses
guys,
some. Like, to be fair, he chooses somebody, right? Like those guys eventually likely choose somebody. The likelihood of it being any one particular girl, you're right, is very low. But women will naturally, like, if I have 100% chance of getting this dude, but an 80% chance of getting this dude, she is likely going to chase the 80%. Right. And if there's a 60, if she can perceive it happening in some way in her mind, if she can imagine those steps leading to, yes, they're going to pick me, which they often think that, right? They think in a one-itis terms with everything, right? If you tell them a piece of data, they'll say, yeah, but me, yeah, but I, right? It doesn't, like, they see everything in terms of themselves. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Just like I don't mean in a bad way, like when I say that they fill up the space that you give them, they just do. Like that's wonderful about them, and also annoying at times, right? It's just the way they work, but it's something you have to deal with. So yeah, I don't.
It goes to
I don't see
women.
that
It goes
as
to
a
women
bad thing.
being solipsistic in nature, right?
Right.
They
Yeah.
always think of, like, from their point of view. Their own experiences are the only experiences in the world. You know, if you ever try to throw a stat at a woman, they're like, well, that's not my experience. Well, your experience is irrelevant. Okay, because when we're talking about the grand scheme of things and things in generality, we're not talking about your personal experience. But you know, like, what you're saying is like it's true. They always look at it from instead of outward. You know, how is this affecting the world? How is the world responding to this instead of how am I responding to this? You know, for them, it's always I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always my truth. Well, it's like in my reality that's not real.
But that's okay. That's the way they work. That's part of what we enjoy about them. That's why we like to
Yeah.
get the girl with high value, right? That's why we compete. That's why we try to win. That's why we like they give us goals to strive for. I know it's easy to get into resent them for acting in their nature, but I think that's kind of silly, right? Like that they work the way they work. It's a guy's job to deal with that and get, and work the system so that they can get somebody that they value, right? Get the woman that you want to get, right? Get it, get into the right category of value so that you can advertise that and have a better life.
Well,
Sure, some point some things out. Yeah, go ahead.
it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Right. Exactly.
You know, guys look at like a lot of the way the women operate, like, oh, this woman's broken. It's a bug. No. It's a feature. Solipsism is a feature. Hypergamy is a feature. I love that women are hypergamous. I, I I'm proud to say that I support women's hypergamy 100% because it helps guys to level up.
Yes.
You know, if they're not
Yeah.
leveling up for themselves, they'll be. I mean, although it's
Exactly.
an outside, external like reason to, when you should have the internal reason to level up, but sometimes guys need that external reasoning to level up.
Yep.
So you want the hot chick, okay, you want that chick. Okay, are you worthy of her? Did because she has a high value, right? Or she gets a lot of attention, quality woman. I don't like calling women high value women because I don't think there's really a high value woman. I mean, I would
Because
say
they think it equates to the high value man, and there's
exactly.
no equation.
Yeah.
It's not an equal thing, right?
I say a high quality woman is a woman with no gag reflex.
Right.
Me and Rolo were in the car. We were driving around Vegas one day, and I was like, Rolo, what's a high quality woman? He goes, man, that's a good question. I was like, you know what? I think it's a chick with no gag reflex. And he's like, yep, that's it. That's exactly what we're going to say from now on. So a high quality woman is a woman with no gag reflex, but I mean, it's a joke, but it's just like, well,
Okay.
you can't equate the two.
Yes,
Right.
they're not.
And that's
Yeah.
where a
Nothing to
lot
do
of
with
women
each
get
other.
things wrong now. That's why the boss women most millennial women, half of them are going to be single, childless, no relationships. They're going to, invest in box wine and kitty litter, and they're going to be doing this whole,
Not true.
eat, pray, love thing and trying to get their groove back like Stella did, but it's just not going to work out for them.
Yeah. On top of that, these women, some of these women that preach for, I don't want kids, I just want to work on my career. A lot of these women will still end up wanting kids by the age of 30. Like I think the average rate that a woman gets pregnant nowadays is like 29. So once they get to that, that realization that things are running out fast or things are changing fast, that's when they get this maternal urge that really kicks into gear.
Rolo
So,
calls it the epiphany. They had this epiphany, like, oh crap,
yeah,
my biological clock is ticking.
yeah, the frame shifts, like you said.
Yeah.
Framing.
I think that's circling all the way back to your point. Is it manipulation? Is it control? The answer is yes. But it's not yes in that, like, there's this thing where when somebody uses those words, the underlying meaning is that it's damaging to the other party, right? And that's not the case, right? Having a standard is not damaging. Like, nobody yelled at me when I went to the restaurant and I was like, I want my steak medium rare, right? I went into a restaurant, I had a standard, and nobody got on a podcast and said I'm trash, right? Like, I'm insecure, I'm controlling, right? But if I have a standard that's directed towards somebody that may eliminate the person that's speaking, like, oh, my standard is obviously does not include you, they may feel offended, and back to, them giving, their own personal view on this data, on this piece of information. They're like, well, and they don't want that to be true because that lessens their options. But
Well, it's like women
in,
are
in
allowed to
order for
have
guys to hold the
standards.
frame, they gotta do that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, man.
No worries. Women are allowed to have standards, but guys aren't, right? You got Fat Lizzo, parading her blubber around, saying that this is sexy, and if anybody doesn't like fat chicks, now you're fat phobic. And I'm just like, no, it's not that I'm fat phobic. I just have the option not to bang a fat chick, and I'm gonna take that option. Like, why? Why do I have to? You want guys to have 6 feet tall, 6-inch dick, six-pack abs, six figures in the bank account, right? You want the 6'6s, that's cool. You're allowed to have that standard and expectation.
And I mean, I don't even think it's just that, because like that all kind of fits into the like provider role, like more qualities. So like the ultimate paradigm I've like coined is because I haven't heard anywhere else, is the bad boy provider frame. So like they also want the guy to be funny, entertaining, like be able to not be fucking boring. And because if you just have the finances, you just have you just have all the things that look good on paper, like that's the guy that gets cheated on. Like Steve Harvey's a great example of this. Steve Harvey, been divorced multiple times, just recently getting divorced again. Guy's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, famous,
Millions,
on paper,
millions.
a great man, a good guy.
Right.
Why is he getting cheated on? He's not filling that other side of the spectrum, which is like the bad boy, the guy who is gonna. Rolo has the great term to describe this is like you can't feign genuine desire.
No, you will never negotiate genuine desire. And that's what Steve Harvey trying to, like, guys like Steve Harvey try to do. If you do this, if you do that, if you do this, wait a minute. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, nor was a man created for woman, but woman created for man. So if women were created for men, why do men have to constantly feel the need to appeal to the woman's desire and meet her standards when she was created for him? Shouldn't she be meeting his standards of a woman? It's just like things are flipping around. We're doing everything backwards now. The Bible also says, husbands, love your wives submit and respect to your husbands. But what we're seeing now is men submitting and respecting their wives and wives loving their husbands, right? But not in the same sense that men would have to love their wives. So, like, because it says, lay down your life for your wife. Okay, that means be willing to die for her. How many women are jumping in front of gunmen trying to save you? No woman is,
Yeah,
not even
of
police
course.
not even police women are doing that. They're ducking out and hiding behind something to get some shielding. So it's just like the way things are intended to be. We're flipping them because the social construct of this gynocentric social order is telling us that we have to do this, and this is what is acceptable. And guys that don't have frame, that don't know how to control the frame, are going like this. Well, this is what they're saying they want, so let me just give them what they want. Not to say that women don't know what they want, but they don't know what they want. Okay, like how many times you heard a woman say, like, oh, I want a guy that's, he's sweet, he likes puppies, he has a great relationship with his mom, he likes to go on long walks on the beach, right? And he's really in tune with his emotional side, and he's vulnerable with his feelings.
He's a
And then
Virgo.
they meet that guy, but then they go fuck the guy that looks like me, that's not tatted up, that don't like long walks in the park, that don't give a shit about sharing my feelings with you, all right? And that wants a sandwich afterwards, okay? Like, they would, but they say they want this guy, but they go for this guy, so they don't even know what they want.
Well,
Yes, and what they really want is they want the guy like you that's willing to do those other things because they know that that's not what they want to do, right? So they're other. It's what I always tell guys is when a girl tells you what she's attracted to, just add this phrase to the end. and be really attractive, right? And be somebody I'm really attracted to, right? Then all of their stuff that she says makes sense, right? Like if she's like, I like guys that take walks in the park, that I'm really attracted to, right? And so then guys can understand, oh, that's not me, right? Obviously, it's not me because she would already have made it known if she was attracted to me. If guys could just get in their head, like she will make it clear she's attracted to you. And if she's not, she's not, right? And you probably destroyed any chance at value already because while I don't agree that you can't get value later on, I will say that it's really hard, right? Once she perceives you as having, like, I like to use like 100 scale because it's easy to understand, right? Most women, like, they're looking at look for guys that are 30 and above, truly. But most guys advertise that they're 23 and they're excited to do it. No, I'm a 23. At least I'm not a 12, right? I'm 23. I'm a 23. They go run around telling everybody, I'm a 23. I'm a 23, right? And the girl's like, I'm not attracted to 23. Sorry. Like, you're not it, right? And they'll friend zone you and they'll try to not offend you because also guys with low value tend to, squirt out the side, right? Because they're not getting their needs met. And so they get a little unstable, right? Any guy that doesn't get his needs met will eventually become unstable, right? How that manifests is going to be different. But if a guy would like this where they think that this value that they have that's so low is good because it's higher than some other guys, but women, they don't go down to the bulk of guys, right? They don't lower down like, oh, all guys are 22, so I'm going to start liking guys that are 22. Nope, doesn't work like that. They continue to be attracted to 31s, and there's just less people that fill that spot. And so they're looking for 31s and above, and preferably above, but they'll take a 31 given the right situation, right? Guys like, nope, I'll just stay 22. I'm good. I'm looking for the woman that really appreciates that I love the Beatles and that I go to every Star Wars movie of the day it opens, right? Like, let me win the lottery, right? Let me be Harry Potter and just like, bam, it happens, and I'm the magic one, I'm the gifted one, right? Every guy's waiting for that to happen instead of going and putting in the work in that allows their value to be up in the 30s or 40s or 50s, and you keep going up until you get a girl that you're actually attracted to, right?
So this is a good segue. What would you guys say to one of those guys listening in? Like, how can they start establishing good frame? How can they become more attractive?
Yeah.
So I made this tweet. I made a video for guys that are 18 years old. And it was actually targeted to 18-year-old Christian men, right? And I simply said, like, look, you need to do 5 things, okay? You need to establish, make sure you have a strong walk with God. If you're a Christian, have a strong walk with God, right? Or whatever your higher belief is. Then understanding frame and developing your frame. That is through experience, what you will and won't allow in your life, what your goals are, what are you trying to do, what are you going to accept and what you're not going to accept in life. That's how you live in your frame. Like, I even operate with frame even when it comes to family. Like, there's some family members I just don't have in my life. Why? Because they do not fit my frame. It's not that I don't love them. It's not that I don't care about them. It's that when they do not operate well in my frame, so then I just remove myself from them, So I will not allow that chaos in my life. Sorry, that's your thing. I love you, but you keep your shit over there. But it takes time for a guy the frame comes with experience. And it comes over time. Like, you can read The Rational Male, you can read all these books, but all that's going to do is teach you the book knowledge of what the definition of frame is. And it's going to give you some applicable tools and actionable advice. But until you are actually out there and experiencing these things and trying to establish boundaries or establish your frame, you're not going to understand what it is. So to the 18-year-old guy, no, don't rush to get in a relationship. Establish your frame. Okay, then make money. Okay, I hate when I see guys like trying to rush the gate into relationships. Young guys they live at home, or they live with their roommate, and they're barely making it, and they're like, Oh, I need to get a girl. Why? You can't afford rent as it is on your own. You need, your buddy here to help pay
Get a
for half the
raise.
shit.
Get
So
another
you can't
job.
even afford your own place. No, 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 no. Get your money right. Okay. Then learn social skills. Game is a huge thing, right? And I say game, but I mean social skills. Learn how to communicate with people. Learn how to read body language. Learn how to know if somebody's actually into you or not into you. Don't assume. Learn social skills, and then stay in physical good condition. If you look like a slob and you look like a piece of shit, then they are going to think, well, I bet you their house looks like a mess and their house is a piece of shit. And if they don't even value themselves, how are they going to value me? If they don't value how they present themselves, then how are they going to? They don't have no standards for who they're going to get with. So it's like, if guys work on those things beforehand, because there's no need for guys to complicate their life with a girl if they do not have the frame, if they do not have their money right, if they do not understand game and have, a good physique. Okay. Like, I'm not saying y'all have to be giga chads and look like, cock diesel. All right. What I'm saying is, though, but at least, like, hey, be within the BMI. You know what I'm saying? I'll even go to BMI standards, and I think those are
Be
the
healthy.
worst standards. Just don't be fat. Don't be lazy. Like, until you are done figuring that out, you don't deserve to get in a relationship. You don't deserve a girl, and you don't deserve to get into a relationship with a girl, because all you're going to do is you get into one too soon, then you end up breaking up, and now you're bitter at her. But the fact is that you never took the time to level yourself up, to get yourself where you need to be, frame wise, financial wise, game wise, and looks wise, for you to maintain a girl. It's not, girls will bang you. Since the sexual revolution and since the birth control pill, the value of pussy has dropped. Okay, it's like less than like the smallest Bitcoin out there. Okay, it's worthless, right? But guys are chasing after it like it is value. But no, no, no. The girls will bang you. Trust me, they'll do it easily. But you don't want do you want quantity or do you want quality? Right? So if you're not leveling yourself up, then yeah, you may get really low quality women. And then that experience with low quality women is going to make you think that all women are like this. But because you're too lazy and you didn't level yourself up accordingly and properly and took the time to invest in you before you were out there investing in them, now you have this tainted worldview of what women are, but because you try to jump 4 or 5 steps.
Yep. I actually want to touch up on this point. I want to touch up on this point because me as a social success coach, I literally talk to guys every day, and I meet endless guys who are doing what Glenn just said, which is they want to jump to, I just want a girlfriend and settle down. I just want a wife. I want to get married, and settle down. And I asked them like their experiences with women prior, and there's like barely any. They have no game. They have no frame. And they just want to like skip all that and just like tie a girl down into a relationship. And I tell them, like, I'm like, dude, like, I could help you get a girl that could be your girlfriend or potentially your wife, but I can give you almost like there's a good chance that relationship probably won't last, simply because they don't have the experience, they don't have the frame. But I think a lot of guys struggle with accepting that. Okay, taking that red pill of like, you got to be that guy, first. Don't jump into a relationship. You're just going to end up paying for it later, later in divorce and half your shit taken away in the girl
battles.
cheating. Yeah. And this is like, it's crazy because I meet so many guys like that. And you can't really win them over either. It's just like, if that's their mindset they're in, it's just like,
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. I think that point you made that they're trying to tie the girl down, but we all know that in order for the relationship to be healthy, she has to be trying to tie you down. And then you're like, okay, yeah. I this is the girl I'm going to choose, right? Because I've created choices for myself. You know what I do with a lot of guys is because I want them to understand that it's the way that they think that is the issue, the core issue, is that I teach them option C, right? So generally when you go, like if you go on a first date with somebody, right, what tends to happen is you do that, like, job interview, first date, right? What do you do for a living? Oh, how do you, I like vanilla ice cream, right? All these minor details come up, right? But what I teach them is to stop answering questions with the answer that's expected. So if somebody says, "What's your favorite flavor of vanilla of ice cream? Is you like vanilla or chocolate?" Right? I tell them, whatever you do, you cannot answer that question. You have to learn that your continued compliance in your mind is wrecking your value on a continuing basis. Every time you just simply comply, your value goes lower and lower and lower and lower. So you have to start practicing, even if you're practicing with your mom or your brothers and your sisters, right? When somebody gives you an option of two things, you have to choose the third option, right?
Yeah, it's called
If she
playing with
says,
them.
yes.
Play with
And
them.
they will appreciate that, right? Because if
Oh,
you
yeah.
ask a girl what she wants to happen on a date, she'll just be like, well, I want to enjoy myself and not be on a date with a creeper, right? Like that's what they all want, right? If it goes somewhere, great, right? That's the secret hope. But the from their experience hope is just 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 let me enjoy myself, please, please, because they're all terrible. And I just want to go on a date with a dude that can make me laugh. How do you make a girl laugh? Is you be high value. That's a way that they comply to high value guys is laughter, right? You don't have to actually be funny. You can just say mean things, right? They're not actually mean. You're just teasing them, right? But from somebody that was viewing that, they might, especially somebody that's not used to that, a guy that's used to, choosing option A or B, right? They may think that that's mean, right? But if the girl's laughing, then it's not mean, right? Whatever
Yeah,
you're
it's
saying,
like
if she's
either
laughing,
fogging
it's
or a
not
neg.
mean,
It's a
right?
fogging or a neg. It's like I tell my girl all the time, I was like, hey, baby girl, your mouth's riding that checks that your ass can't cash. You got a little plump booty, okay? You don't got a big old booty, so you can't be riding those checks like that. And it's like, it's a neg. It's a neg hit. Like I'm talking about her
Right, right.
physical physique, but it's not a negative thing. I'm saying like, hey, watch your mouth. You can't be riding checks that your ass can't catch. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna bounce. It's not gonna be good.
Yes.
And it's I'm joking with her, but I'm also being very honest with her. But it's in a way that she could digest it, and it's funny, and there's humor there. But see, you're right. A lot of like, if you have to ask the girl what she wants to do on the date, you don't deserve to go on a date with her. Okay. When I took my girl for
Yes.
I took her where I wanted to go. I ate where I wanted to eat. Okay. She tagged along.
In fact, I tell them never go somewhere she wants to go.
Never. No, don't ask her. Do you
Then
want to
she's
go
going to
here?
compare you to every dude that she was ever with at that place. Take her somewhere brand new where she has to be just in a delta state, ready to absorb, experience, have you show her, have you protect her. Like all the things you want to happen when when she's in a new place.
Yep.
So take
And
her to
right
new
out the
places.
gate, you're already showing that you don't know how to lead.
Exactly.
You can't even lead a date. How are you going to lead a relationship?
And it's not like you're like, we're going this place. I don't care if you like it or not. That's not what you're saying. High value guys just say, I'm going here. You want to come with me?
Well, it's like this, like, hey, I got reservations over here at this restaurant for us tonight. Wear that black little dress that you bought last time. Yeah, that was beautiful on you. I'll pick you up at 7.
Yeah, you're saying
It's simple as I'm telling you
that.
what to do and where we're going and what do I expect. And that's a perfect way to see if they comply. One, are they going to be on time? Are they going to be wearing that little black dress? Right? Are they going to be throwing, I don't want to go there and eat there. Well, I don't care where you want to eat. It's not that I'm going out to eat there, period. Anyways, I'm just asking you to be in my company, and let's have a good evening together. When you start giving them options, like have you ever asked a toddler if he wanted to eat, what options he wanted to eat? They got, I want McDonald's. No. I want Taco Bell. No. Pizza Hut. Yeah, pizza. Like they don't know what they want. They need you to lead them. And not saying women are toddlers, but women want to see your leadership skills.
They work differently. They want to enjoy you. They're going on a date with you. They're not going on a date with, Red Lobster, right?
Yes, exactly.
They want to experience you. They want to see what you have to offer. And if you're not putting that on display, that's an indicative that you don't have the value to hold your own frame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's beautifully said.
Totally. And I think it falls back to, I really enjoyed how you put that, Glenn, of like having God or, whatever your higher belief system is, spirituality, whatever, have that be first. And then right below that be frame. The woman is going into your world. And if your world sucks because you don't even know who you are or what you want, then she's not going to have a great time because
or your world is her.
Right. That's where I was
That's
about
the
to go with
worst
that.
frame. Yeah.
Or
That's worse.
because you don't have, your frame, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you like, you don't know why you're here, right? You don't have a mission, you don't have a purpose, and you have nothing that you're connected outside of yourself, be it God or the universe or whatever the fuck. So by default, if you don't have that, the core ingredients of arguably like what makes a man, then you're going to make her your purpose. You're going to make her your religion, and you're trying to go into her world and get lost in her world when fundamentally that's not how we operate. She is going
to
into your
stress
world.
her out.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
You're
forcing
gonna
her to
cause
be in her
so much
masculine.
stress on her behalf.
Yeah,
She's
you're
gonna
forcing
start
her
having
to
to make
be.
decisions. Yeah, she's gonna.
Yeah, you're forcing her to be you. You're forcing her to play your role, and that's going to be frustrating for a woman. Wait a minute, I wanted a guy that could take care of me, that could handle this stuff, that could handle these things. Wait, why are you asking me? You're supposed to lead, bro. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
And here's the sad thing: if a guy's so quick to abandon his frame and to jump into his woman's frame, he is just telegraphing to her already that his frame is not strong enough nor valuable enough.
And what's
So
going to happen
want
when
your
a
frame to be
threat,
so
when a guy
attractive.
who's intimidating comes along and he's just going to break frame? Like that doesn't signify strength, and I'm going to be protected by this dude.
Exactly.
And she has social media, so he's coming along for sure.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know what? It's just, you want your frame to be so attractive that a woman wants to abandon her frame to live in your frame. All right. I'll tell you guys a quick story. So, genuine desire, right? About frame. So, I'm in LA. I was living in LA. I was doing movies at the time. And me and my wife, right, before we got married, back when we were dating, we weren't even like serious yet. But I told her, if you want to make this serious, then you have to come live in LA. Now, mind you, she had a house on a lake in Seattle, in Washington area, right there off the Sound. She had a business, and I say, if you want this relationship to work, you got to be here. I'm not going there. I'm establishing my frame. Look, if you want this, this is what it requires. She sold her house, sold a business, and was out there within 2 weeks. Showed up in a U-Haul. I'm like, okay. Genuine desire, right? I set the boundaries. I set the standards. Like, this is what it's expected. If you want this to go further, this is what it is. And then on top of that, I made her wait even more years before we even got married. We just celebrated 7 years together, but we've only been married for less than a year. But it's like, it took that long of vetting. The process was there before we went down the aisle, right? And guys are so quick. Guys are too afraid to do that. Guys are too afraid to have, a frame, because they're like, well, if this is my frame and these are my expectations, what if she doesn't want to? But now they have that scarcity mindset. I'm never going to be able to get a woman. No. Peace over pussy. All right. You don't let anything destroy your peace. You establish your frame. That the most sexiest thing besides your physical physique to a woman is a man that's masculine and has his frame, because she knows that within that there's security for her. Oh, he's secure in his frame. He knows what he wants. He's going after what he wants. Oh, he knows how to provide. He doesn't go without. Man, that's attractive. I want a guy that hits that. And damn, he's sexy too. Okay. And he told me no. And he's not afraid of me walking away from him. That's a keeper. Too many times guys are running behind their little ladies like, no, babe, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say no. I didn't mean to say no. I just meant not right now. Okay. No, I changed my mind. You could go and do it. Go. Just don't be mad at me. That's what guys are doing these days. Instead of being like, no. And moving on. Like, it's like, tell your girl no once a week.
Yeah. And a lot of that comes down to emotional resilience. So like Dante asked earlier, like, how do you, what advice would you give to a guy wants to establish a stronger frame, it's like you have to build emotional resilience, because that is your frame. It's like the strength of your reality in a sense. And if you're talking to a girl, what she's going to do is she's going to bring her bullshit to your doorway. She's going to bring drama. She's going to bring manipulation. She's going to bring shit tests. She's going to disagree with you. She's going to challenge your frame. And you as a guy have to have the emotional resilience strong enough to reality to be like he said, no, and establish that frame. And a lot of guys can't do that. A lot of guys cave. They try to supplicate to the girl. And that's the beginning of like the downfall, essentially.
They're looking for things they have in common, right? It's nuts how crazy a guy, like a low value guy, will like, he'll hear that she likes the Beatles and he'll be like, I like the Beatles too. And he's like thinking, oh, I just gained a bunch of points. And I'm like, no, bro, you lost points, right? Like all you did was just comply, right? Stop complying. That's why I tell them whatever. So she says, hey, do you like vanilla or chocolate ice cream? I say, why are you talking to me about boring shit on this date? I'm here to have fun. Can you do that with me? Right? I have knocked her question aside. I have reasserted my frame because guys, they want to know, how do I do that? Right? They're constantly asking, yeah, I get what you're saying to me, but how do I do it? Right? And I give it to them right, exactly detail to detail, right? She's going to ask you to choose between two things. You don't choose either one. Change the subject, don't answer, do anything you want besides give one of those option A or option B, right? Like, how much money do you make? Girl, why are you in my business? I don't even know you. I don't even know if you're fun or not.
She will ask you what you do for work or whatever. And the way she, that she actually is asking you and she actually gives a fuck is like her eyes are lighting up. She's like emotionally invested because prior to that, you've been building up this experience of like push-pull, teasing her, clowning on her. And now she's laughing. She's in an emotional space, not a logical, this is what I do. What do you do? Okay, where are we going after this? Like I've had, conversations with girls, both super hot and more likely when they're more hot, typically I've encountered this, but also girls who are not really that attractive. And the pattern is they'll be very like stoic and just giving you like nothing to work with, like no emotion whatsoever, just pure logic, redirecting all of your questions, all your funny attempts to like get them to laugh or bust their balls a bit, just right back into the logic fucking field. But after a certain amount of time, you're going to break through that wall by just holding your frame, by just being playful, by being fun. And then eventually, and I think that's one of the most beautiful experiences when you're hanging out with a girl, is when she finally crosses that threshold from like logic into emotion. And she just lights up, like she just opens up. Her whole personality just kind of spills forth.
And
so to answer your question, she will get there. And the way she gets to actually, giving a fuck at what you do is by picking option C.
Well, it's like what you were saying, Dan. Like, what do you do for a living? I'm a male stripper. Yeah, money's good.
I'm a rodeo clown.
Yeah, like
I'm an astronaut.
You give them a ridiculous answer, they know you're not a male stripper,
right?
But it's like, no, for real, what do you do? Girl, I'll take this off for you right now. You got some money? Like
you put the music on.
Yeah, like you play with it. Like if you guys tend to reveal everything to chicks in the first few dates, and it's like there's no mystery.
They throw it up.
It comes out of their mouth resume to the date, and it's like, so when I was 14 years old, I rode a bicycle and I skinned my knee. That's why this knee has a scratch on it. It's like they don't want to know this shit. Like, what do you do for a living? I do enough to make enough. Well, what's enough? You'll have to find out, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Like, like you don't answer how what's your body count? Today, well, there was that one, but you know what? Just one for right now, unless you don't give them an exact number,
or you give them a 0. You're like, yeah, I'm a man of God, girl. Like,
I'm a virgin.
I'm saving myself.
I've been a virgin my whole life. Do you want to take my V card? Are you worthy enough of it? Like you just play with it. Like you don't directly, as you were saying, Dan, don't directly answer the question. Oh, yeah. Do you like chocolate ice cream or vanilla? I'll lick both off of you. You're not answering it.
As long as you don't answer. Yep.
You're giving them a third option, and then you're also implanting, like you're escalating the conversation as well. You know?
Yeah, subtext.
Yes.
I'm always teaching guys, like, if you don't have subtext to what you're saying, then you have no value, right? You're advertising like I'm a 22. Subtext is a lot of times if a guy can't get this, I'll teach him the power words, right? Silly, feisty, and cute. And guys are like, "What? I don't understand what's a power word, right?" And I say, "Well, when you tell a girl she's feisty, she doesn't know whether you're complimenting her or putting her down or both or what, right?" So almost all words have very clear subtext, but those three words, their subtext is nebulous, right? It can be both sides, right? So I want you to use them more with women so that you can see the confusion and them try to get pinned down what your value is, right? Because women rely on guys telling them more. The guys that don't yell their value are high value. They know that. Nobody that's falling over themselves to tell you what their value is has high value, right? They're 22s, right? They're 11s, they're 14s, right? Those guys fall over themselves hoping that they can win because they're better than the other guys that are lower than them, right? And then the value guys are like, please don't ask me questions that I'm not interested in, right? That's boring. Stop being boring, right?
Like I tell girls, like the worst thing you could do on a date is tell me what you do for a living. I really don't give a fuck how you make money. Okay. As long as you're not a porn star, right? I really don't care about your job. I don't care because I make enough to afford this date and afford you. So if girls love to like, oh yeah, so I'm a doctor. I'm like, okay.
No, yeah. I tell girls to make something up because I want to see what their imagination is like. Right?
Yeah.
I test them rather than letting them test me. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a doctor. I'm smashing your frame. Girl, I don't care none. Like, and you don't care either.
I'm
like, that's the worst part about it.
I'm Dr. Philip on you, and I'm about to Philip on you. You know, like you just play with it. Like, just women tend to treat dating like they have to bring this high value. Like most women that consider them high value have zero marriageable material. Oh, well, I got a bachelor's in this. I don't give a shit if you're in astrophysics. If you can't clean a house, it's not worth it to me. Okay. Like if you're not maternal, if you don't have the desire to raise kids, it's not worth it to me. I don't need someone else to bring money in. I bring in enough. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to see what value you have because I have to invest this into you. So are you worthy of my investment? Too often guys are trying to appeal to the woman's investment in them and not have the woman appeal to the investment in the men. And that's the problem. You know, like
couldn't have said it better. That is exactly it.
And I think just not knowing how these things play out. So like a woman who is super career orientated, super masculine, basically taking over the role of a guy, like how that plays out and high body count as well. How that plays out is like, it's just a lot of combativeness. Like when you're prioritizing, as you said earlier, peace, then you just want somebody who's going to comply, who's going to appreciate you, who's going to make sure that the environment you're in is clean. You're going to look for ways that she can add value into your life, be sweet, preferably attractive. And along the lines of the body count thing, I saw this stat that after 10 partners for a woman, you are like your chances to get divorced drop to 20. But even just one more partner than just two partners, it's still super high likelihood that you're going to get divorced. So this whole idea that, well, if guys have high body count, like shouldn't we women have high body count? It's just silly because we're not wired the same way. And like, as a woman, you're bonding, you have like a certain amount of bonding, juice, bonding power. And every guy you're with, you're expending more and more of that bonding power. And it's not like, well, I just have 90%, bonding power with each partner. It's like, no, it's like you have 90% with the first guy, and then you have 30% with the second guy, and then 20%, and then 15%. So like, we're just not
on average again. But I think that right back to the point that we all kind of pinged on earlier is that that's generalization data, but a female will just go, that's not me, I can still bond, right? Like it's just natural for them to want to be the exception to any rule that you set up. I think that what's important in that area is saying, okay, what have your successes been, right? And so if you're not getting the guys you want to ask you the things that you want to be asked, then you are not doing it correctly, right? I think that they don't respond to data very often. It's very, very rare that a girl's like, oh, data, holy shit, like that's right. But what they do respond to is what about them that they can maximize to begin to attract the podcast, the high value mate, right? What is it, right? And so I think a big trait that I think that comes with if I were to say a woman is high value, I would say she is high value because I don't harp on the 100% like this, like just very compliant or very right. What I say is that she knows when I want her to be 100% compliant, and she goes from wherever she's at, because part of the status of my lady is that she is unattainable to others, right? And this unattainableness, however much it is, we want to preserve that. And so she has to have some kind of like, I have worth, I have value, but she has to, and it's their superpower. They are so good at judging micro expressions on people. You've all had a girl that's like, what's wrong, and you're like, nothing, right? But obviously it is, right? But you don't know how to dictate to get back your frame in that moment, right? Your frame is in jeopardy, and you're like, shut down and try to figure out how to repair my frame. And maybe lots of guys, they never are able to do that, right? They don't understand the principles, but like holding that frame, going back to the core principles of options, of not going with something else. Like what you're doing is the most important thing, because you're in the pursuit of value. You're doing all the things that are going to bring value to the family, and she's going to support that in various ways. So she has to be watching you, and then she knows like that that you're close to finding the girl when she knows exactly when to all of a sudden 100% comply, right? If you're like, like I knew that Chad was trying to sleep with my girl, right? So, Giga Chad shows up at the party, and maybe she's always been friendly with Giga Chad, right? But never had a relationship with him, right? And then I'm like, nah, I mean, don't talk to Giga Chad. And then she's like, 100%. Like, okay, I don't even look at him. Like, let's go. Like, we can leave if you want. We'll do whatever you want, right? That 100% compliance when it's important is what gets a girl to be able to stay under the wing of somebody who she wants that protection from, right?
Here's my
That
question.
compliance, but also resistance. Some resistance, all of a sudden 100% compliance.
Here's my question about the body count. Ready for the question about body count?
Yep.
Do you actually think women are going to be honest with you about their body count?
Never.
So
occasionally, maybe.
Really?
I think if they're a virgin and they're actually a virgin,
how would you know that? Are you going to get a hymen check?
You would never know, right? You would never know if they were or not.
Exactly.
So it's almost irrelevant, right?
Yeah, it is irrelevant in a sense. It's not like, now if she discloses, like, okay, so I know a couple porn stars. I produce some of their stuff, not their porn, but like their podcast stuff.
Yeah.
We don't do porn over here, all right? But like, like my wife right now is producing Tiffany Fox, porn star. She doesn't even know her body count. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, do you really expect women to be honest with you? She told me, she's like, when she was like younger, she was always telling a guy that she was a virgin. Every time she got with somebody, he's like, yeah, I'm a virgin, and they all believed it. So it's like, women lie. Women are not going to be honest with you. What you have to watch for is not the numbers so much, but how they
behavior.
treat you. Yeah. Watch their behavior. What the medium is the message. How do they present themselves? All right. Like, so yes, pair bonding is an issue, But the same stats with pair bonding about women also talks about pair bonding with men too. And men, it does, high body count can and does show that it does affect men as well. Maybe not as significantly as women,
Right.
but it does. We can't dismiss that part though in the conversation, because I'm not an advocate for telling guys, oh, you need to go out there and get 50 bodies before you get married, like Myron is. Because if that was the standard, then Rollo Tomasi has no point in talking about the rational male or anything, because he only has 41. You know, his wife was 41, right? And they've been married for 27 years. So, and if that's the goal that a lot of men are trying to get to, is have a marriage and have a successful relationship and be able to walk their daughter down the aisle like he did, then I guess 41's okay. You don't need 50, right? So it's like the body count conversation is more of a weak argument. I'd rather be the best you ever had. You know who complains about body count? Guys that can't fuck. Guys that don't know how to sexually please a woman are worried about body count.
Yeah, if you're not in the top 10%, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, you had 7? I've only had 2. Damn, I don't know if I could do this right. I've only had 2 experience. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the guy that knows how to please a woman and take care of a woman doesn't give a shit about her body count, right? The guy that's the best that she ever had is not concerned about the guys that she was banging before, to the extent of the way the guy is now. The guy that, like, she may have a whole bunch of bodies, but I may be the best she ever had. But because of the experiences and how she behaved to get that body count, maybe the disqualifier. Oh, you didn't value yourself enough. You got into porn. I really don't want to marry a porn star. I don't want my kids to have to worry about their mom catching their mom's old films on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not, I don't want my kids to have to go through that. Don't want to, but you know what? You're a great fuck, you know, whatever the case is. But again, the guys that complain about body count are the guys that are not fucking the most. For one. 2, they don't have the experience to match up with her previous experience. So the cope is, I want a virgin wife. Why? Because she doesn't know how shitty sex is, because you don't, you suck at it. She has nothing to compare it to. So you want a virgin so you can be like, yeah, I'm the best she's ever had. Well, you're the only thing she's ever had. So that whole argument with body count and virgins is mute in that point, because it gives men an out for not being able to please a woman, And I'm sorry, I'm not Myron. I'm not going to say a woman's orgasm doesn't matter. If I'm going to be the best you ever had, whatever orgasms you had before, I'm taking you to cloud 9. All right. This is going to be heavenly and divine. Okay. That's how it's going to go. You're going to be screaming, oh my God. And I'm going to be like, yes, daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it's going to roll. I want to leave you with that experience. Yeah. When you do that, you have that secure. She's not going to want to risk losing that. When you're the best she's ever had, why is she going to want to step out for some subpar dick that wasn't even good? No.
100% agree with you, man. 100% agree with you. I think that, going back to frame and spirituality, religion, like what you're here on this planet to do. I think if you're not making her like the end all be all, that process of finding out, and immediately just trying to get a girl, right? Back to what you're saying, like trying to get into a relationship. If you're actually trying to build your frame and see who you are, why you're here, what you want to do, I think that process involves you, being with different women and knowing what you like and kind of exploring. And I think that journey is different than a woman's journey. And just because how we're, hardwired, like going back to the whole pair bonding thing, like the fact it's greater for women, is just one facet of like how it's different. But I agree with you. I think that as a guy, you shouldn't try to go get the virgin because you're hiding behind this inability to please your woman. Like, I think it's of the highest importance that you learn how to do that. Like, one minor example of this is I won't finish before she's come at least 2 or 3 times. Like, period. Because I know as soon as I come, I will fucking not like you anymore. Like, I will want to get away from you. Like, I have to force myself to like give you aftercare and like, but I'm not super excited to do that. I'm not like, fucking yeah. Can I get you something? Let me wipe the cum off your stomach. Like, no, like I just want to get away, and I don't know what in fucking biology causes me to do that. But knowing that, it's like, how do I get you off multiple times. So you're super satisfied before I get off. So I don't think you should hide behind, let me just feed her mushrooms, keep her in the darks and not, have her have any experience. And that's what I'm using it. But I think that, guys, like I've been in really great relationships. My best relationship I ever had was like 3 years. Love this girl to fucking death. And I still wanted to sleep around here and there. And I know that it's not an all the time burning desire. Going back to Nathan, you mentioned earlier, like hedonism, right? Being hedonistic. It's not coming from this place of like, oh, I just want to, like, I just have to satiate this need. I just want variety, and I know that's going to be there regardless of who I'm with. So something that has been beneficial to me personally is just realizing that, by nature, guys just kind of want to fuck. Like it's part of how we're hardwired. Going back to celebrating women's hypergamy, and it's beautiful, like get the best guy. I totally respect that. And I think it's amazing, it's helped me become a better guy. Like, especially early in my journey, it's helped me work on my social skills. Like that's was been my number one focus for like the first 25 years of my life. As a fucking woman, making myself a better guy. But at the same time, it's like our nature as guys tends to go towards wanting variety, and knowing that, and like knowing yourself, going back to cultivating your frame, I think it requires some experience with women till like, okay, I'm like a one-man kind of guy. Like I never have this impulse to want to sleep around. Like I just want my one person. Or if you're like me and you're like, it comes up from time to time, and it would be nice if the girl I was with, we just had a threesome.
I know a few that are down for that. Like I can hook you up if you come out to Vegas. I mean, they're all about that. But it's also like, I tell guys this, like, not every woman deserves your dick. All right. Like not every woman deserves you depositing your seed. All right. Like hey, your lineage is worthy of, is valuable. Like, so yeah, you could get experience, you could spin plates, but you don't have to fuck every plate. Quality or quantity does not trump quality. Right. So it's like, I mean, I know a lot of guys with high body counts, but they have not fucked quality women. They have like half of them would never. Here's my joke: is like if you bang a chick and you're not willing to hold her hand in public in the sunshine, broad daylight, in front of everybody, she doesn't count. Okay, because it's something that's not a notch that you want to brag about. So it's like, so you can have quantity, but that doesn't mean you have actually got experience. Quantity doesn't equal experience. Quality equals experience. So you have fucked some bad quality chicks. Now I don't want to go there. Now you fuck some really good quality women. That now you know where you want to be at. So now your target demographic is going to be smaller, and that's what you're going to aim for, right? So you may not have 100 bodies, but you know what? You may have fucked 5 quality women before you decided to get married, and you're like, I'm good. Like I fucked a bad one, and now I fucked a really high quality one. I know what I like, and this is what I'm keeping. I'm keeping what I like. So experience doesn't necessarily mean quantity. Experience means you've experienced the different types of quality women. And I'm sorry, there's not that many different shades of quality women. They're either, you have some really low quality women, some mid quality women, and some high quality women. That's about it. There's only 3 categories they fall into. So, a guy that bangs 3 chicks and one from each category, he could determine which category he wants in. You don't need to have a huge body count, to understand, to establish what you're looking for once you experience it, and too many times guys are worried about getting a notch count, and they're only worried, they're only banging low quality women, and they're never going to understand what a high quality woman is like, because they're so worried on getting this quantity up that quantity doesn't equal value. It's equivalent to the girls and likes in their photos. Oh, I banged like 2,000 girls. Well, they were all mids. So that doesn't mean anything, right? I got 10,000 likes on my picture, but you wouldn't bang any of the guys that you liked your picture. That doesn't mean anything.
That's a great point. And I think a lot of, back to like one-itis, putting the girl on the pedestal, making the girl your purpose. I think that kind of fuels that. because you're not looking to get a quality partner. You're just looking to get to the next person. And I think if you're filtering women based on like I'll tell my female clients, date to marry, date to marry, like find a guy that's marriage material. So like as a guy, if we're applying that same narrative, is like, who like, let me get the most awesome fucking girl, like whose personality I truly enjoy, that I'm like, I could see myself spending the rest of my life with this girl because she'd be fun to have around. Like I enjoy her personality, and her looks, are going to fade over time. So it's like, what's the long-term investment? So I think you're right. I think a lot of the trying to accumulate a high body count is because you're just trying to make the girl your purpose. And
You're putting the pussy on the pedestal.
Yeah.
I need to capture. You're treating it like Pokemon. I got to catch them all. It's like, why? You don't need to catch them all. They're not all good. They're not all good. They're not all worth bragging about.
I tell guys that they know they've taken a jump in their personal value when they have multiple options of quality, right? So you need to look at your pool and say, okay, if I'm trying to get this one girl and she's not even one of my options, like I don't have value. And me trying to convince myself that I do is just fooling myself into thinking that I'm good enough the way I am. But that's not how guys work. Guys got to get value. They got to go out and do stuff, right? They're happier. Like, find me somebody depressed and I'll find you somebody that's not going out and doing something, right? Even the guys that are like going to model airplane conventions are happier than the guys that do nothing, right? There's levels, right? Levels of success, levels of, but when you can recognize that my pool has options and they are content being one of the options, then you know that you've leveled up, right? You have 3 girls that are aware that you're dating multiple people. They don't have to know who each other, anything like that, but they have to know you're dating, right? And there are 3 girls and they have quality. Now you know that you've bumped up in value, right? So you can recognize what it is about yourself. What are you doing now that's different, right? And because guys need to be able to recognize when they don't have value and then when they are beginning to accumulate value, right? Because we don't know how, like, guys are always questioning, like, okay, when, like, what's the amount at a job that, where I have value? And I'm like, well, the greatest temperature takers of value on the planet are females, right? They can be with you for 3 minutes and know what your value is, right? And in reality, it's probably inside of 30 seconds, right? And so the way they
knows
respond,
if she wants to fuck you within 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. It's very fast, right? And I would say, I actually say it the opposite. They know when they're not going to fuck you in 5 minutes, right? Because it's the low value guys that are like throwing their value out immediately. Like, oh, I'm 22. Don't kick me out. Don't kick me out. Right. And she's
I'm
like,
22 and a half.
Yeah. But if we both like the Beatles, I'm a 23, right? And she's like, no, that's not how it works. Right. Like, I will talk with you in the friend zone about the Beatles. And if you want to buy tickets to, whatever concert that we both like, and then we'll go as friends, and then I'll go home and get with the guy that's not you, then yeah, you can do that, right? As long as you respect the friend zone boundaries, right? She won't say that right out, but that's what they're all saying. So long as you respect the friend zone boundaries, you can continue to talk to me.
Yeah,
right?
Too many times, guys,
no guy
like,
wants to be in that spot.
The friend zone as like I tell girls, like, well, girls don't have real male friends,
right?
No, they just got guys waiting in line
orbiting.
To fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the hottest. Like, I know a lot of hot girls like, oh yeah, he's a friend. I'm like, no, he's not a friend. He's just waiting for you to let him fuck. And I even put him to the test. And like no, I'm like, let's call him. Just call him and tell him that you want him to come rail you right now. See what he says. And they're like, no, I don't want. You don't want to find out the answer because that will destroy the fantasy of you having a male friend. The guy that is able to see, like, I tell guys, don't stick your dick in crazy. I don't care how gorgeous she is. I don't care how sexy she is. If the bitch is batshit crazy, don't stick your dick in crazy. That's how you know you have dick control One, and two, you value yourself more. You're willing to pass up some hot ass because you don't want to go deal with the aftermath. But not a lot of guys will do that. Not guys will be like, I'll take the risk. Here we go. And it's like, that's how you know you have the pussy on the pedestal. When you're like, man, this girl is like, this chick has more red flags than a communist parade, but you're like, I still want it. Then you're like, okay, the pussy's on the pedestal. If you can't walk away from pussy, be like, you know what, I choose my peace over your pussy. Then you know that the guy that could choose peace over pussy is the guy that knows he has value, and he's like, I'm not lowering my standards and expectations for some crazy pussy.
Although when I was 25, I slept with every girl I was in rehab with.
Oh, I fucked a whole bunch of crazy. I learned from my mistakes.
Yeah. It turns out don't continue to do that. Well, hopefully,
No.
as a guy, it's hard when a guy does level up because if he manages to level up, he has options opening up before him. And now he may not know without proper guidance. That's why it's great to get mentors and get around guys that have value, because they're going to help you to make better decisions. But when these things just open up and suddenly you're like, oh, I can do all this stuff, like you're going to experiment to some degree, but hopefully you'll get some guidance from somebody that will eliminate 80% of that, 80% of those mistakes. I think if you only make 20% of the mistakes that most guys make, then you're probably on a good pace.
100% agree. Nathan, you got any thoughts on that, man? I notice you haven't, said a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to bring it back to the question. The question was how to help men struggling. Was it with dating or just in general?
So, like, the frame and how to be more attractive.
Okay. Well, I like that question a lot because there are a lot of men that need that. And I think that's the whole emergence of the red pill in general, is because there's a lot of men that are combination of lonely, sedentary, addicted to porn, addicted to video games, a lot more virgin men than ever. So I think there's a lot of, useful information that can be gained from, red pill in general. But one way I would agree with Glenn is framing is everything. So you want to develop a vision, show your ambition through whatever your mission is with whatever your partner becomes. I do believe in immersing yourself like earlier the better, like with dating and getting used to how to talk to girls, getting used to how to navigate that kind of landscape, because you'll learn as you go. I mean, you'll make errors. Like we all just heard all the errors that some of them made. You're not going to get it right away. And that's with everything in life. So develop a vision. I would say adopt as much responsibility as you can. That kind of ties it back to that ties it for me to Jordan Peterson. He says that a lot. Like a lot of people want freedom or rights, but a lot of people don't want responsibilities. And something that men love to tackle is responsibilities. What can I fix in my life right now? What can I improve about myself? Something that became evident with me as I got older is I wanted less having and I wanted more being. So I wanted to become more things instead of having more things. So that's why I don't really want to have as many women as I can, because although I did go through a period in college where I was living that and it felt good, it did teach me a lot too about women. But I started liking the idea of becoming like one thing in my relationship is faithful, becoming independent, strong, all these different facets, becoming motivated in my vision. That's why I want to go back to school. So I think just adopt as much responsibility, develop a vision, and immerse yourself, as early as you can. You're not going to get it right away.
Outstanding, man. And tying it back into peace, I think we probably all agree that managing one woman is probably more peaceful than managing a roster of women. Significantly less problems.
If you got the frame for it, it's all relative. Everything's relative to your strength of your frame.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's like, I look at it as like, man, I've done it. And I'm just like, why do you want to complicate your life? Like it's guys have this weird fascination with complicating their life more than needed. If you got a girl that wants to bang you out regularly, she is sweet, she defers to your authority, right? She has genuine desire for you. I'm investing my time into that. Like your time is investment. Time is all you have. You don't get that back. I can make money, right? I can lose money and I can make money, right? But I cannot make up time. So it's just like, you know, if you decide, like, once you have a good one, right? Why are you looking for other good ones? You're wasting your time, and you're investing this time that you can never get back into other women that are just I mean, I get it. I know a lot of playboys, and I know a lot of guys that are bachelors, like my friend Troy Francis, 40-some-year-old bachelor, great guy, love him to death. He's a part of Rule Zero, you know. But I'm just like, man, I couldn't do that life. I don't want the headache. Maybe it's just because I don't want to deal with the stress and the nonsense. I like making my videos. I like producing anything. Time takes away. So if I'm investing in an other pussy, then the other pussy is taking time away from me when I could be creating that legacy or creating that empire that I want to build for myself, right? It's just like, so your time is all you got. So it's like, find it, if you find one, find a good one. Don't settle for anything other than less than what you expect, right? But make sure that you're in the position to expect that.
Yeah.
As you level up. Too many guys are just as delusional as chicks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want a virgin. Okay. And she has to be a stay-at-home wife. Yeah, I want a boss, babe. Okay. Do you make enough money
For her to stay at
support?
home. Yeah.
Yeah, to be no. So you want her to work and then come home and be a stay-at-home wife. Yeah, bro. Your expectations are ridiculous.
And I think,
you're not in the position
yeah,
to demand that from her.
and I think that's your five like tenants rules that you told the guys earlier in the podcast. I think money was like the third or fourth one. I think it's important to get that one down. Like I'm a good testament to doing it backwards. I studied like so much around pickup and social dynamics, all the old pickup artists, Mystery, Tyler, and I did it to such success that I did get results, a lot of results, but I also during the whole time wasn't getting, like, I've been broke for such a long time of my life, and I got a STD that almost fucking killed me like 3 years ago, and that finally like was the the turning point where I was like, maybe chasing girls isn't like the only thing there to life. Maybe there's some more important things like building my finances, building my wealth, because to get that woman, let's say this hypothetical dream scenario, she's like a virgin and stays at home and all that. You're right. Going back to what is your frame? Like, what do you want? If you want the woman to stay at home and to be a virgin, then like, how do you build that reality for yourself that then she can fit into? And if you're just slaving away, trying to get as much, pussy as possible, you're not really in touch with what you want, and you're not really in touch with what it's going to take to get there. So I think it's important to keep that order that you got.
Well, it's nice also, like, it's like, what do you expect the woman to do, right? You're like, hey, babe, I know I'm broke and I really ain't got shit going for me, but I love you, right? And we could do this together. We'll build it. There's that option, or there's the guy that's like, look, I took the time, I invested my time in me, leveling myself up, getting my frame right, getting my money right, getting my game right, getting my physique right. Hey, girl, let's go. Who's she going to pick? The guy that's going to have her help build this empire, or the guy that built the empire and is like, look, I'm ready to invite you into this kingdom. You want to come into this kingdom?
Exactly. And
the
I
girl's
think
going to be
deep
like,
down, we all want that.
kingdom built. Kingdom built is what she's going to go for. Girls are not wanting to run the race with you. She's looking for the winner at the end of the race, right? So it's like, take the time, invest the time in building that kingdom, that attractive frame, that attractive kingdom that she could be like, I want to live in that frame. I want to live in that kingdom with this guy, right? Because if now you're asking them to do your work, you're asking the woman like, hey, I know I ain't got shit together, right? But if you help me, I can get there. It's like, wait a minute, you want me to help you? Like, wait. Straight out the gate in the relationship, I'm supposed to help you get there?
And what is she going to do exactly?
Yeah, it's like,
is she going to help you get a promotion at work? Like, is she going to help you get a better job? No,
like, what
you're
want
going to do that.
Like, You want her to clean, work, feed you, take care of the kids while you're working 2 part-time jobs? No, she'd rather clean, take care of the 2 kids for a guy that got his shit together and that you know that has this. I'm sorry, value. There has to be value. There's a value exchange here. And if you're offering girl no value and you're expecting her to give you all this value, you're not in the position to negotiate like that. Just like the girl with the 1,000 body count that expects a decent guy to treat her less than a piece of flesh. Like, oh, don't look at me as a sex object. Well, I'm sorry, girl. You've been banged out by 1,000 guys already. That's what you showed us, that you're a sex object, right? Like, I'm more valuable than that. No, you are not. You have showed me that this is all you are. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Guys are just as delusional.
A guy should be able to ask himself, okay, if I had all the sex I want, then what would I want to do? Right. And that's what you should be worried about. Right. And I know a couple guys, and their answer would be more sex. Right. But for all the rest of the guys, they're like, I want to get promoted. I want to start a business. I want to become a musician. Like, there's all these things that they want to do, but they're thirsty because they don't have options, right? So they need to build themselves up professionally until they have options, and it will cure. Like, it's crazy how just adding value will cure. So I've helped so many guys change their lives because I helped them to understand that what they were pursuing wasn't actually helping them, right? You create value in yourself, and all the rest of the world will fall into alignment, right? The promotions will happen. Like, all of these things will happen because you fixed yourself,
And
as
when it comes
opposed to
mental
you
point of
thinking it's the
origin,
opposite.
like we were talking about, mental point of origin is that I can't help others unless I help myself first.
Right.
So it's like your frame is that, you being the mental point of origin, which controls your frame, right? Is that I can't help you unless I help myself first. I get where I need to be. So I can't bring a girl into my life until I get my shit together first. Right. It's like,
Got to work on yourself.
Don't focus on finding a woman. Okay. Because I'm sorry, there's a new girl turning 18 every day. Trust me, guys, you will have kids. You have the opportunity of having kids in your elder years. I mean, shit. Al Pacino just fathered a child at 82 years old. All right. If Al could do it at 82, I'm pretty sure you're going to be good.
Yeah. My kids are 20 years apart.
Yeah. See, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're like, hey, the pistol still works. It's still straight shooter. But guys have this fear of it kind of goes back to a generational thing too, because remember back in the day, it was like a guy had to get a job. He wasn't considered a man until he had a wife and kids. He was still a boy. He's this playboy, right? Running the field. He's not a real man, right? So the guy's like, oh, I got to get girl. I got to settle down. I got to shut. For what? You're jumping to step 5 when you didn't get 1 through 4 right. There's a process to this. Don't try to cut corners and look for cheat codes. This ain't a video game. All right. There's no cheat codes to life. The cheat code to life is work. Put in the work, but be precise of what you're doing. Do it with a purpose. Don't just work at dead-end jobs to make a paycheck. No. Work a trade, learn a skill set to help build the career that you want it to be. Don't be just dating women just to get your dick wet. You might catch an STD, right? Okay, now we're going to start dating quality women, and we're looking for some specific reasons. I'm not sticking my dick in that. That might be crazy. Might be fun, but may be costly. There's a consequence to everything, right? There's a consequence to everything. And you have to weigh out the consequence. The consequences for guys that are young, that are like, oh, if you focus on women, you're sacrificing your career and where you want to be in life. All right. If you focus on your career, you're sacrificing your opportunity with women. But what's going to have more value to you in the end is having all that women going to give you value in the end. You don't get a retirement out of fucking bitches unless you're Sterling Cooper and you're a porn star. All right. There's no retirement there. So your retirement for longevity needs to be something down the road. Right. So yeah, you sacrifice the pussy in the beginning to get the type of pussy you want in the end.
Fucking A. So I wanted to cover one last topic before we wrap here. And we've been talking a lot about like what men can do. And there's this trend in society right now with feminism of like women kind of taking on the role of the masculine. So I can totally see a lot of women listening to this right now, and they're like, well, is that what I got to do? Like, I got to go get my degree, and I got to, go, get a really high paying job, and I got to, be the breadwinner. And I would like to know what you guys would say to that. Like, what would you say to the average woman listening right now? Like, what should she be worrying about? Is it about increasing her value? Is that like the females part of the game?
Well, it's exactly what what Glenn was just saying is that like it's true for female just as much as it's true for men. So if they're focusing on the career, they're sacrificing the other thing. I think that there has been this misconception, and then this perpetuation of this misconception that you can have both of those things, right? But it's just the data tells us that most of the time you can't have most of those things, both of those things. And so if you're going to spend your time pursuing a career, then you have to find somebody that's okay with that, right? And this podcast happens to be about high value men, right? High value men don't appreciate that. They want access to the person they're interested in. They don't want to compete with their job for access, with the woman's job for access, right? If a woman wants to have a job, that's great. That's why we have America. That's why we do all these things. But unfortunately, there's a belief that you can have all the things as if all the things were possible, but the cost is time. Just as Glenn said, the cost is time, and you don't have enough time to do both of those things well. And so and I don't think it takes into account the way guys work, right? So guys like certain things. And if you want the guys that are full of their choices, because they have choices, they now believe that they are going to make the choices they want, then you have to fit into what their plan is. And if you don't want to, if you don't want the guys with choices, then okay, now you're working a different ground. You want to get this guy, he's like good enough, whatever. We'll have some, the regular marital issues, right? And maybe read some romance novels or whatever it is. In some way, I say that this is okay, right? Well, people do it every day, right? It's not that big of a deal. But if you're looking for high value man, then you have to understand that you have to fit into his lifestyle. And it's not the other way around, right? You were probably used to being a prize, right? If you think that you automatically have earned a high value man, you're probably fairly good looking, right? You've got some stuff. Maybe you did some boss stuff, right? But you think that you're deserving of the high value without realizing, yes, I have options. I have been chosen in the past by high value men. Therefore, I can marry one of them. But you're not thinking from the high value man's perspective of, I have all of these options. Why would I choose the option where I can never see her when I want, when she's worried about her job, right? She has to go home, get a good night's sleep. She can't hang out till midnight because I make good money. I perhaps run my own business. I can go in when I feel like, right? I need you to be able to do that too. I need you to fit into my life, not me fitting into your life. Yeah, there's just not enough time. You can't do both.
No, that makes a lot of
I
sense.
think also,
Oh, go ahead, Mehdi.
I was just gonna say, I think a lot of women don't understand this, that for them being high value is very different for men being high value. Like a lot of women think that like what a man being high value is like what they should aspire for. Whereas like for the guy being high value is a very different path than a girl being high value, because she has to like project into the future and see like what does that actually mean as far as relationships or marriage or whatever. Like men, for them, like seeing high value in a woman is like what, purity, femininity, uh like stuff like that. Whereas women seeing value in a man is more like success, masculinity, dominance. If a girl like strives to achieve those qualities in herself as being a high value, like that's just gonna fuck up her choices later on in life, essentially. And men, she's not gonna attract the men that she wants.
Well,
So
it's
a
like
lot of
they
men
become the
have
man
this.
that they want to marry.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So they're like, oh, I'm being high value. I'm going to college. I'm getting this career. I'm getting this job. I'm becoming more masculine. It's like, good for you. But 10 years from now, like the guys that you're going to attract are not the guys that you want. You know,
Even
you're going to
now,
attract guys who aren't as dominant, who aren't super high value themselves, who are going to
you,
like put up with that.
you don't even have to wait 10 years. That'll happen
Can we bring
immediately.
back like
When
finishing school? You know, like back in the day, like girls, like I think at the age of 12, right? Or 11, they'll take this test, right? And depending on where they scored in this test, they either went to this like etiquette school, like how to be a homemaker, right? You know, how to like balance books in your head or something like that, how to learn how to bake a cake, like how to cook and clean properly, right? And like to be a wife, or they went to this other school, was like a trade school, how to be a secretary. You know, it's like we need to bring that for women back again, because it's just like, look, half these women that have like great careers and they're successful, they don't know how to cook. They do not know how to tend to a man's needs. You ask them, we've done man on the street interviews and like asking a girl, like, what does a man want? They don't know the answer. They're not being taught the answer.
That's the
So
thing
it's
They
that
like,
don't
I
have
think.
to.
it's like, wait a minute, like my first thing is like, you know, do you know how to cook? Because okay, so full disclosure, we're starting a dating show, Red Pill dating show out here. It's like the Red Pill Bachelor. And the first guy that I have coming on, he's my buddy. He's a Christian. He's 29 years old and is a virgin. And he's not a virgin because he's ugly. No, this dude's a jacked Chad. And he he lives in Florida. He makes over 100K a year, has a beautiful house, right? He's like, I don't want to fuck women that are not worthy of my dick. Like, I do not want to give my virginity to a woman that's not worthy of it. Right. He's like, my wife will be worthy of it. So I'm like, dude, I'm going to put you on this dating show. Right. We're going to have all these challenges for women.
I
Like
would
one of the
definitely watch
challenges is like,
that.
they're going to have to like do laundry. Right. They're going to have to wash all your dirty gym clothes for a week and fold it and put it away. Like, let's see who does it the best. Right. The other one is like, can you cook? One of the date nights that they have to do is they have to cook him a meal. Right? Are they a good cook? Does food taste like shit? Okay, you're probably not marriage material. And the reason is because we're showing women that what you think is valuable to a man is not valuable. Because a guy that has his shit together, that doesn't need your money, doesn't need your degrees, don't care about that, doesn't need your resources, needs your skills. What skills do you have? I don't need your resources. My job is to be provider and protector. So I got the skills. I need your skills for the home. You know, now if you want to have a job, like my wife works for me. I own the production company. She works for me. She's like, oh, I want to produce. Okay, cool. You can go produce her. Go have fun with her show. That's her little hobby. That's not her job. She works for me. You know, she does it because she wants to. It's an outlet for her, right? It's not, I don't require her to do anything but keep the house together. That's your job. But if women don't realize that men of value want women that could take care of the home, that value the home. When we get married, your job is me. I'm taking care of me.
Yes.
I'm your job.
And take care of my children as well.
Yeah, that's the job. You don't need a degree in that. You really don't.
I think that with all the attention that women get, they don't understand opportunity costs. Opportunity costs is the most misunderstood thing across both men and women. But I think that as men pursue value, then they get hit with opportunity costs all the time, and they begin to say, "Oh, okay, like I only have, like when we had that conversation, I only have so much time." That is essentially an opportunity cost. If I sink my 15 extra hours I have a week into this, I then miss this opportunity of doing this, right? So I'm not here to say that women can't go play tennis or, and sink 70 hours a week into it, but they just have to understand there's an opportunity cost, right? If you want this person who has all these options needs this from you. If you can no longer give it because you've lost that opportunity because you've chosen to do something else, that's just something you have to live with. Right. So at all times, you have to be recognizing. Yes, you have to be recognizing your opportunity costs and the losses of choosing one thing and then not being able to choose another thing.
And it's
So
so
a
much
lot of
more
times the guy
detrimental to
becomes
the
the other
woman.
thing.
It's so much
Oh, it
more
is.
detrimental.
Well, yes.
It's way more detrimental because they have a certain amount of time, right? Biologically, to be able to procreate, right? So it's like, I think girls from the ages of 18 to 25 should be focused on making themselves marriageable, right? Don't worry, don't go after the bag. You should stay at home and live with. I think the worst thing parents can do is send their daughter off to college. You know, she could go to college, but have her live at home, you know,
Yeah.
under your dad's authority. Like, I'm sorry, I'm very
Patriarchal.
yeah, patriarchal in the sense, but it's like the father's responsibility goes from father to husband, right?
Yeah.
That's the transition she go. She should go from living in her father's house to living in her husband's house. Okay. Like, the worst thing you can do is send her off to college and be like, yeah, go ahead, go live your life. Because now you're not protecting your daughter.
And I think
You
if a
know?
woman is interested in having a great marriage, then this is what she should be interested in having happened, right? She, if like a lot of women, they say like guys are dogs. They say that all the time, that they don't know how to recognize the guys that are not serious about marriage, but their dad does. Their dad could talk with a dude for 30 minutes and be like, nope. And of course, we live in a place where you have the choice to do differently. But if you want it to go well, your dad should be intimately involved in your decision-making process, right? Like vetting these guys and giving you the guy point of view of the guy. Of course, the girl still has to be attracted, right? She has to see the potential or the made value of the guy, but you need the a dad's input in like recognizing like this person is not yet at this place where they're looking for somebody like you to continue to bring value in their life, right? Guys can just recognize that because they're also that guy, right? Like at one point, they were not serious about having a wife. They were like, no, I'm still building. I'm still doing my thing. I'm not interested in that. And so we can recognize it in others. Are they on this side where they're not interested, or are they on this side where they're now looking to construct a family, right? And they're interested in somebody like you. And so we, yeah. And so they can hear that advice from us and then, potentially and very likely make a better decision.
Absolutely.
So, but opportunity costs. Marriage has got to be something that's important for you. And I think if we just highlight that it's an opportunity cost, right? If you do this other thing, it'll be at the cost of these things. Then I bet that you would see a lot more people choosing, no, let me get ready for marriage then because I don't want to miss that, right? And as I get older and then I realize, right, that I do want to have this home where I don't have to grind it out at work, right? Because a female can do anything a guy could do, but I'll tell you what they don't do, and just watch a bunch of guys play Call of Duty, right? Is they will grind, and that grind is fulfilling to them if they can accomplish things. And women don't work that way. The grind is not enjoyable, right? In and of itself, right? But if a guy can beat four other guys, like the grind is fabulous, right? They'll go to work, and if they can beat people at work, then they'll, and that's the guy that you want, right? Whereas, women, they tend to choose the social things and the social aspects of jobs, and they enjoy that part of it. And if they get, and data just tells us that they get into this grind situation where they feel like work is a grind, they become much more likely to be depressed, much more likely to get divorced, all these
Look at all the
things that
women
they
that
don't
are
want to
awesome.
happen.
Look at the women in the
Right.
workforce. Look at all the women in the
Yeah.
workforce.
They just,
Most of them are on SSRIs. Most boss independent women are depressed, right? They're coping with wine or they're alcoholics. Women that have become alcoholics have risen through the roof.
yes.
Why?
In California, homeless rate of women has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
because they find that they don't want to grind at a job that doesn't have any fulfillment, right? A guy's fulfillment is that he beats some other guy.
So
Like
guys enjoy the
that is
grind.
fulfillment. Yeah, they want to win. And
He's
so
too
They
busy.
want to keep providing for their family. They want to
yeah,
go
Yeah.
work that job.
It's
They
a
want
yes,
to.
it's like we embrace the suck. Like everybody's like thinking like happiness is something obtainable. No, real happiness is in the pursuit. It's in the grind. It's in the getting up every morning and doing this shit again. That's the happiness. It's like because now you're feeling productive. You're feeling like you're accomplishing something. Women don't like that. They're like, huh? When is this
yeah,
gonna end? Well, you know, like why
yeah,
can't I just have that already? Like, no, baby girl. This requires work. And it's like men need to realize that this whole like going Dutch and then, like, oh, 50-50. Yeah, you are setting yourself up for failure in a relationship. And you're not, I'll just say right now, you're not being a man because you're forcing your woman to take on half of your responsibility for this relationship. Like, I don't want my wife doesn't worry about money. That's not her responsibility. Her responsibility is whether or not those socks are folded right. Okay. And are they put away in the drawer? That's her responsibility. That I don't want her to stress about stuff that's my job. I don't need you to stress about money, baby girl. I got the money. That's me. I don't need you to worry about if your car has gas in it. I filled it up. That's me. That's my responsibility. Don't worry about the yard work. I'll take care of it. That's me. Like, do you see like but too many times guys are like, well, yeah, we're 50. She's equal. We're both equal. We're both, humans. We're both people. Whatever I could do, she could do, So it's like, but you're forcing her now to take a role that you're saying you don't want her to be masculine, but you're putting her in a masculine position,
yes.
expecting her to be feminine.
And expecting her to be happy that she has to grind.
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand like why guys like, oh, I don't mind having a boss babe. Okay, then you just don't mind having a feminine woman. That's fine. That's okay. You could be the feminine in this situation. That's fine, but at least own it.
But we both know you're not going to like it.
Yeah, you may say you like it. It's not going to work out.
You are. My wife, she brought up, she was like, once she was like, do you want me to get a job? And I was like, hell no. Are you kidding me? Like everything that I enjoy about you would be gone, right? Like I don't want to hear you come home and say your feet hurt. No, not even a little bit, right? Let me make all the money and then you help us live this life that we're living. Like, and she was like, I never thought I would end up like just doing laundry. And I was like, but you have the option of going off and living your own life, right? And she's like, no, it's not that. I just never envisioned it, right? But as I'm here, like this is the life that I want, right? And so I have to fill in whatever's needed.
It's like,
yes,
you're
helping the
value
family,
of clean
right?
laundry. The value of clean laundry is that I get to wear it and go make money in it and then bring it back to you. Like, do you see like how valuable having clean laundry is? Do you see how valuable having a clean house is? It's like you provide me this so I could go provide you this. Like, it's like, hey, laundry is important.
Yeah. And it just doesn't work. If I'm making $32,000 a year, like that doesn't work. It's not a lifestyle that anybody can be like all the strain. If you're not being able to do anything social, right? Because that's what they are, is they're social, right? So like if you can't even afford to put together a barbecue in the backyard, once twice a month, like you're in trouble, right? Like, we go to the theater, we go to all this stuff, right? She loves going to this stuff. Like it, and so like it allows me to know, like, no, I don't have to worry about my girl, right? Like, that's not because she would have to give up this entire lifestyle, right? And she knows that it's be very difficult to replace, right?
It's like, it's like, look, let me handle man shit and you handle woman shit, right? I need you to be a delicate. The Bible says you're the weaker vessel. Then I need you to stay the weaker vessel. Not on purpose, not because I need you to be, but that's how you're designed. Right? God created this for a reason. So there's an order to every function, right? So it's like, yeah, can women be masculine? Absolutely, they can. Is it the function? Absolutely not. Anything that operates outside of its function may run and operate okay, but it's not running and operating to its
Optimally,
optimal
yeah.
level. And eventually it wears down and breaks down quicker. So men that put their women in masculine situations, right? Yeah, their women could do it, but it's not running, the relationship's not running optimally. And eventually those masculine situations that you put her in will be the reason why your relationship fails. Because you did, as a man, didn't take that role. And then for her, if she's let's say she's a very alpha woman, right? Then by her not submitting to that authority is what caused it to drop.
And you can even ask women, like if you just ask them, hey, if would you get with a guy that didn't have any money? And they'll all say, yeah, like, yeah, if this, right, if they were like ambitious, all this stuff. But then if you change the question and you said, would you be okay getting with a guy that doesn't have any money with the understanding that he was also never going to try to get anything more than what he has right this second, which is almost nothing? Every girl will say no. And they'll say like he's not ambitious, like I just can't align with that, like, you know, they'll have their reasons for it, and it's great. That's like how women work is fantastic, because it's what makes really truly motivates guys, right, is to get the unattainable, to work up to where we have the value that can get these things that maybe we thought, you know, when we were 12 or 15 or 18 or 22 that we couldn't get, right? Like it kind of is gamified life itself, right? And so it's fantastic. But if you ask the right question, you'll see they don't want that grind. They want a guy that's able to succeed, to do things, to bring value, to have value, to allow them to, you know, pursue these other things, right? These social aspects. Like when you were saying, Glenn, that you know, your girl has that hobby of producing that podcast, right? It doesn't take away from the family, and it actually enriches it because it gives her something to do. And she, you know, instead of being idle and her mind being idle, she's able to occupy herself, and it gives her motivation to continue to do stuff for the family, right? Works perfectly, right? Because she's choosing that, but she's also choosing the family, right?
And it
so
also
like,
makes her appreciate what I have to deal with. You know, it's like
yes,
now she knows,
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, you have to deal with this. No
all
wonder
the
why you're on
time.
your phone talking all the time. Oh my gosh, no wonder why you're always, you know, like your trouble, like you have late hours. It's like I didn't realize. It's like I don't realize that until, yeah, now you see what I do to make sure that you have the life that, and it's like, oh my gosh,
just
I don't know if I
just say
could deal with
thank
this.
you and go about your business.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, the laundry's still waiting for you. After all this, you know, it's like,
If this is where you want to be, is this where you want to be? And
exactly.
of
It's
course
like,
she
you know,
does.
you're
Like,
giving them the opportunity to
she has a
see.
high value male and a nice
Yep.
life. Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't you choose that, right? You have a family. In my case, we have a kid together. Like, she gets to stay home with the kid. She gets to be there, go to all the stuff, right? Like, she can, you know, afford to, you know, if the kid needs this or that or this, it just happens, right? You know, you need a new washer, you just order, then it comes the next day, right?
And it
Like, they
also
would have to
shows
give
that
all
you're
that up.
deeply appreciative of the grind that your guy is on. I think there's a huge trend of women being just outright disrespectful for the fact that the guy's providing. It's like, make you a sandwich, do your laundry. It's like the guy's doing so much to provide this awesome world for both of you. So doing those things, it's not like, you know, I'm controlling you or whatever. It's a way to show appreciation. He's doing his
Well, it's
part.
like they should have the desire to do that. Like, man, this guy has
Yeah.
done all this for me. I desired, like, my wife desires to make me dinner. You know, when I come home and I'm like, man, I don't, you know, the funny thing is, every time I come home, I don't ever have to ask what's for dinner. Dinner's already plated. Dinner's already ready to go. I just get to sit down and eat. Why? Because she desires to, she knows that, oh, he's been working hard all day. I desire to please him and show him I appreciate him by making sure he doesn't have to wait for food. You know, it's like she desires to please me after I come home from a long day of work. So I come sit on the couch and I notice everything's clean. Nothing's out of place.
Yes.
Exactly.
She
And
desires me to have peace enough to not disrupt it. Like a lot of guys think, oh, I need a woman that be my peace. No, you don't. Now you're putting power in women. Women are never supposed to be your peace. She's just not supposed to fuck up your peace. Okay, you are responsible for your peace. All right, guys, you run your peace. Don't put that responsibility on women. It's your peace. Keyword your. That's your ownership.
Your purpose and
Don't
your
her
frame
job
are
is just
your
not to
piece.
fuck it up.
Yeah, I tell guys all the time, if you don't like being alone, you don't like the person you're with.
Yep. And if you don't even like yourself, yeah, it's a whole nother story.
Keep listening. If you're one of those guys, keep on listening. And it's true, man. Like I my ex, she's a nurse's assistant working on becoming a nurse, and she came. I was babysitting her dog, one of these weeks because she didn't want to pay like the $150 fee for daycare, and she also wanted to hang out with me. So she came home after working like a 12-hour shift, just a disgusting amount of hours. And she, constantly on her feet, dealing with blood, people screaming, sometimes sexual assault stuff like towards her from crazy lunatic patients. And I had like the entire house clean. I had dinner prepared, all this stuff done. And while I'm doing it, I'm feeling like it has a feminine tone to it. Like I'm aware of that. But at the same time, I'm like, she's slaving away working. Like I want her to come home to a place that is just inviting, just soothing, calming. And understanding that as a guy, it's like that's not that's like me saying I'm gonna dirty up your kitchen while you're gone working for you to come home. And if you comment on that, I'm gonna be like misogynist. It's like, what? What are you even talking about? What are you even fucking talking about? It's about showing appreciation for the person and all that they're doing. Like, I appreciate the fact that you just slaved away most of the day. Like, thank you for doing that. I appreciate you. I respect you. I'm going to add to your piece. I'm not your, as you said, I'm not your piece. I'm not your purpose. However, I'm going to do everything fucking possible to amplify the piece that you already have to add to that.
Yeah, like that's what I said. Peace over pussy.
When you make some merch.
Don't fuck up my piece.
There you go. And keep in mind, to kind of wrap, to summarize everything, it's like, if you want a high value mate to marry as a woman, remember that these are the things that we value. And the more you prioritize a career, like a couple of things are happening. Like number one, all that time you're spending working on the career, you're getting older. And as guys, we value your looks. Like that's your primary get in the door for a woman, is like how physically attractive you are. And then once you're in the door, then we look at, okay, how is your sandwich making ability? How much are you appreciative of me? How much do I like you as a person? How much are you not going to fuck up my shit? So
how agreeable are you? Are you
yes.
are you going to argue with me over everything? Like,
exactly.
I just went out there and I fought dragons and I slayed down demons all day. I don't need to come home to that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no.
So your value is all about, predominantly your attractiveness, your look. So if you're investing all that time, the opportunity cost is like, yes, you get a job, but you're not even built for the grind, as we mentioned earlier. Like as guy, like I'm always going, for me specifically, I'm always going to read more about trauma. I'm always going to be making more videos. I'm always going to be trying to, make more money with my clients. Like that is like why I'm on this planet. Like that gives me fulfillment and joy. As a woman, you're not going to get that most likely from your business. Like you're not built for the grind. So understand that, yes, you could create this pathway towards a career, towards high income, but you're sacrificing a lot of time spent, not having a husband, not having a family. You're losing your biggest asset, which is your physical attractiveness. That's what we predominantly value. You're not going to keep increasing your value like as guys we're able to do. Doesn't matter if we get older. Back to Al Pacino having a kid at fucking whatever 105, like his value just keeps on increasing. Like that will never change. As a woman though, your ability to get a fucking awesome dude is going to dramatically start to go downhill the older you get, and you're going to have to settle for a less attractive and less attractive and less attractive guy, more and more mediocre, because the more value we have, the more options we have. So if you're prioritizing getting a marriage instead of a career, another thing I forgot, the more money you make, the more you're not going to want to tolerate a guy who's making less than you. As guys, we're going to want to provide for you. As a woman, you're never going to be like, I want to take care of you, baby. I want to pay all the bills. Like that's not how, that doesn't come natural to you.
Forever.
Yeah,
Forever.
Yeah. For the rest of
Because
our life.
anybody, like, they're very giving, they'll definitely pay the bills for a while, right? But if they don't see an end in sight, then it begins
Look,
to cause
the day
stress.
the woman is paying the bills, the clock is ticking. The
Yes.
countdown has begun. She may do it for a while, but there's going to be an end soon. The end is near.
It's gonna be a chaotic ending because she's just stressing out her stress, and if they get too stressed, like anybody, they'll start to make very bad decisions, and you don't want to be there when that happens, right? So you want to be able to have your value in the right place. I get it. Sometimes you're young, or sometimes, some kind of catastrophe happened. Maybe, the business that you made, that you created, somehow becomes irrelevant, right? And you have to start from scratch. And maybe that, you date a girl at that time, and she says, okay, you did this before, you could do it again, right? Okay, but you're still on a timer, right? And she'll say, no, you have forever. Like, if she's a good girl, like if she's somebody that appreciates you and you appreciate her, she's gonna state that she's good with it, right? But it will begin to cause stress, and once a certain level of stress is hit, it's different for every person, but once they hit that threshold, now they have to start to, like, I need to get away from this stress, right? And that could be, just divorcing you, could be, like a million
Cheating.
different things, right? Sure, cheating is one of them, right? Whatever it is, it's not going to be good, right? So you have to get your house in order, and you have to be hurling up that road at all times. Whereas when we think about a girl, we don't think about that at all. We're not like, if somebody said, how do you feel about 100% providing for this girl forever and she never has a job? And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. I would prefer that, actually. Thank you. Yeah, maybe, you could have something, as long as it doesn't interfere with all the rest of this, right? If it enhances it, great. If it takes away from it, no thanks.
There you go.
And that's the big difference.
Yes.
Will you do this forever? Yes.
Yeah.
For a guy, the answer is yes. For a girl, typically it's no.
And keep this in mind, ladies, listen to the podcast. The cheap short-term, like, false sense of empowerment that feminism kind of gives you, in the long run, it just sabotages you in a lot of different ways. And if you want a guy to marry who's high value, or the highest value that you're able to attain, then keep these things in mind and start cultivating these things. Start mapping yourself out to getting a guy to marry and to provide for you and to support you. Because that's where you function best. That's where you're going to derive the most fulfillment. Just like as guys, we're going to derive the most fulfillment from being the provider.
Also, keep in mind, like, this term feminism, at its base, it's a great idea, right? We're getting rights to people that don't have rights, right? But what's happened is they started to sneak other things under this umbrella, right? Where now feminism means way more than it did 40 years ago. So the 40 years ago feminism, like, I get to beat you and you can't say anything, right? That's a sign of a super weak guy, and that guy should be fixed or punished, right? But now we're changing it to, if a guy has a standard, he's controlling, narcissistic, and insecure, right? Like, it's become anything that someone dislikes is now the opposite of feminism, right? If it doesn't, provide everything that a female wants without any cost, then no, that's not what feminism is all about, right? And so the term itself has become a reactionary for guys, because guys are basically like, oh, as soon as the word feminism comes up, I can't win. Like, I lost automatically. So yeah.
I say,
Big deal. Like,
feminism,
what is feminism mean to you? Yeah, exactly.
the root of feminism is found all the way in the Bible and Genesis. It's in the beginning. Genesis 3:16. And God is, like, now rendering his punishment for Adam and Eve fucking it up and, eating the apple, right?
Right.
And goes to the woman, you're going to experience a lot of pain in your childbearing. And your desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. So from there, now that this harmony is broken, because before that, men and women, there was no need for feminism. One, feminism is a first world problem. All right. Because in a third world country, they ain't worried about feminism. They're worried about whether they're going to survive
Safety.
this,
Yeah.
when we're going to get our meals, how we're going to survive, like how we're going to populate our nation. Like that's what they're really worried about. So
Yeah.
feminism is a luxury.
Definitely.
Let's realize that. And it was never about equating equality. We're never equal. There's always a hierarchy. Why Pat Stedman get arrested for walking into the Capitol building? Well, because he didn't have the authority to walk in there, okay, during the September or January 6th. You violated a law. You don't have the right to do that. So you get in trouble. There's a hierarchy. There's a reason for things, right?
Yes.
And when you just have too many chiefs, and that's what feminism does, like, well, we're both equals. Yeah, we're equal in value, but not equal in function. Okay.
Yeah. An
Your
apple
life
and
is
an
just as
orange are not
valuable as
equal.
mine, but we're not.
Yeah.
We have different functions. The quarterback is not the only player on the field. That defense also is there too for a reason, right? So it's like, yeah, the quarterback may be the star that scores points, but the defense stops the other quarterbacks from scoring points. So everybody has a position to play. Play your position, and your life will be better.
Outstanding. I want
Amen.
to thank you guys for coming on and sharing some of your time and energy and dropping some wisdom bombs. Glenn, for everybody listening that wants to follow you, maybe work with you, see what you're doing, where can they do that?
Well, they can find me like you did on Instagram, Glenn_Lawrence_presents. Or you can follow my YouTube channel at GlennLawrence_presents. Or you catch me on Rule Zero every Saturday with Rollo Tomasi, Ryan Stone, Thor, who else? Apex Mindset, just all the guys from Rule Zero, every Saturday. And I'm in Vegas, so if you're out here in Vegas and you want a studio to work in, you want to do some podcasting, let me know. Reach out to me, and I will get you in the studio and produce your work.
Amazing. And Dan, where can people, guys, girls, if they want to work with you, get some wisdom?
You don't know me, you're probably not. You can reach out to Dante if you really need something. I kind of really reserve that to people that are very interested in change. So I make plenty of money. I don't need the money. I love to see people transform, but I'm very selective about people that I choose to work with. I got to really see like that you're all in, right? That your life is unbearable the way it is, and you will do practically anything to change it. And I won't
Awesome.
even ask you to do hard things. They'll
Just
actually be
option C,
simple.
motherfuckers.
But option C, it's way more powerful than you think.
Epic. Well, thanks again, guys, for hopping on, and thank every one of you listening for tuning in. Appreciate you.
And Glenn, I just wanted to say I really enjoyed having you on too, man. It was awesome to hear you. You're hilarious as well. So,
thank you. No, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be on with you guys today. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much for watching episode 2 of the Next Generation podcast. Few things. Number 1, like this video. By liking it, you're going to help show it to more people. So if you like the information, if you liked all the wisdom, the bombs that were dropped, and you want to expose that information to more guys and girls so that we can get rid of toxic feminism and, overall improve the human race and make everybody more awesome, like the video. Next, number 2, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more. That's also going to help spread the content and attract new people. And lastly, number 3, the link in the description for our Patreon page is in the description. So go tap that, donate some money, support the channel, support the cause. This is going to allow me to get more guests and keep putting energy and time into this to get more of this information out. So support the cause, donate. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get back to editing and posting this for you.